Welcome to our audiobook channel, where storytelling comes to life. Immerse yourself in a world of captivating narratives, brought to you by talented narrators. From timeless classics to gripping contemporary tales, our collection promises to take you on unforgettable literary journeys. Sit back, relax, and let your imagination soar as we bring the magic of books to your ears. Join us as we embark on a wondrous adventure through the power of words and audio. Welcome to a realm of boundless imagination. Welcome to our audiobook channel.
Swami Vivekananda, the mighty man of action whose inspirational words galvanized millions of people around the globe. He was a great thinker, with a profound insight into life. With his words of wisdom, he comforted those who were suffering, and sanctified their lives. He is considered one of the most famous and influential spiritual leaders of the Vedanta philosophy. He founded the Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission. Vivekananda was born in Shimlapalli, Kolkata, in West Bengal on January 12, 1863. His parents belonged to a well-known Bengali family. They named him Narendra Nath Datta. Right from his childhood, Narendra was very lively and naughty. Once he was playing with his friends around a tree. The landlord threatened the children, saying, "There is a demon in the tree and he swallows children." Hearing this, the other children took to their heels. But Narendra was not at all scared. "Let me see the demon today," he said, and settled down on a branch of the tree. He waited there for several hours. Finally, when the demon did not appear, Narendra smartly walked away, leaving the landlord embarrassed. Narendra's father, Vishwanath Datta, was a famous lawyer. Most of the time, he was surrounded by his clients. But whenever he found time, he would sit with his son and preach, "You need fear no one so long as you keep to the path of truth and dharma, virtue. One should guard one's self-respect. Love of one's religion should not mean hatred of others' religions. Patriotism is essential for man's welfare. Foreign enemies may invade a country, but they cannot take away people's ancient and potent culture." Narendra would then sing devotional songs in his sweet voice. Narendra's mother, Bhuvneshwari Devi, was a pious lady devoted to God. She inculcated good habits in him. She taught him the latent virtues of fearlessness, honesty, justice, and devotion. She would often tell him stories from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata in the night. Narendra would not go to bed unless he had listened to a story. As soon as the verses of the Ramayana would fall in his ears, he would forget his study and play. He was an ardent devotee of Lord Hanuman. Once he sat before the idol of Lord Shiva, with his body all smeared with ash. When his mother saw him, she was startled. "What's all this, Narain?" she shouted. Narendra smiled and said, "I'm Lord Shiva, O mother." Days passed in this manner. As Narendra grew up, he displayed deep religious feelings. He practiced meditation from a very early age. Our Narain seems to be quite different from the other boys of his age, his parents would talk. And they were not wrong. Narendra was actually different from his friends. The other boys would be busy playing and having fun, while Narendra would be sitting alone in a corner, contemplating. "Come on, Narain. Let's play. Don't you feel bored?" his friends would ask. And instead of giving them a reply, Narendra would throw another question: "Have you seen God?" His friends would get agitated. "Oh, you always seem to be lost, Narain. Stop asking silly questions," they would say. "Why don't you think of finding answers to these questions?" Narendra would wonder. Being intelligent and sincere, Narendra was always good at studies as well as games of various kinds. He was very enthusiastic and hard-working. He took lessons in fencing, wrestling and rowing. He also studied instrumental and vocal music. His teachers would praise him, "Narendra is so energetic and spirited." But there was one thing that disturbed even his teachers, and that was his tendency to question about everything. He questioned the validity of superstitious customs and discrimination based on caste and religion. "I can't blindly accept anything that the books say. I need concrete evidence," Narendra would say. And the teachers would get vexed. We can't get you a proof every time, Narendra. In 1879, Narendra entered the Presidency College, Calcutta for higher studies. After 1 year, he joined the Scottish Church College, Calcutta and studied philosophy. During the course, he studied Western logic, Western philosophy and history of European nations. All this gave wind to the already existing questions about God and the presence of God in young Narendra's mind. Day by day, his thirst for knowledge increased. He would borrow from the library books not related to the prescribed courses and read them, and so satisfy his thirst. As Narendra advanced in his studies, his thinking faculty developed. Doubts and uncertainties overtook him. Many times, Narendra spoke about his doubts to eminent scholars and sought their guidance. But he could not be convinced by their logic. Though they all were excellent in their respective fields, but none of them had direct experience of God. Narendra's curiosity remained unsatisfied. Then one day, his professor called him and said, "I have noticed your curiosity about God. Narain. I also feel that you are dissatisfied with the explanations given to you. There is a holy man named Sri Ramakrishna. He is famous for his spiritualism and is said to have seen God. In my opinion, you should go to him. I am sure he can give suitable answers to all your anxieties." "You have indeed shown me a way, sir," said Narain gratefully. Sri Ramakrishna was a priest in the temple of goddess Kali. He was not a scholar. But he was a great devotee. The scholars who went to see him became his disciples. So, the next morning, Narendra set off for the Dakshineshwar temple to find Sri Ramakrishna. When he reached the temple, he saw Ramakrishna sitting surrounded by his disciples. Narendra walked into the temple and sat quietly in a corner. Suddenly, Ramakrishna's glance fell at Narendra. For some time he was in a trance. Narendra's attractive figure and shining eyes filled him with wonder. This young boy is no ordinary man, he thought. Narendra now went close to him. "People say that you have seen God. Is it so?" he asked humbly. "Yes, I have, my son," replied the holy man. "Can I see God, too?" asked Narendra. "Of course, but you shall approach him the right way," Ramakrishna said. Narendra decided to become Ramakrishna's disciple. And he started living with the great saint. Narendra was Ramakrishna's favorite disciple. But he would not accept his preaching blindly. It had always been Narendra's nature to test something thoroughly before he could accept it. Narendra was highly critical of people who worshipped idols. At the same time, he had no faith in mystic experiences. He tested Ramakrishna to the maximum, but the master was always patient and reasonable to his questions and objections. Ramakrishna would say, "There are many roads to reach a destination. No one has the right to say that the path the other man takes is not the right one. It is improper to pass judgment on anything that one does not understand." In time, Narendra accepted Ramakrishna, and his acceptance was wholehearted. The next 5 years, Narendra learned the Vedantic literature. He was transformed from a restless, puzzled, impatient youth to a mature man who was ready to renounce everything for the sake of God realization. One day, Sri Ramakrishna took him to a secluded place and asked, "Son, I possess some mystic powers that can give a man whatever he wants. I have attained these powers after a long period of meditation. But I can pass them on to you just in a minute. You need not even meditate for such long hours. And you can get what you want. Tell me, shall I bestow these powers on you?" Narendra asked in a calm voice, "Will these powers help me to realize the self?" "No," replied Sri Ramakrishna. As per his master's wish, Narendra decided to start a monastery. He rented an old house at Baranagore. And this was the foundation of Sri Ramakrishna Mission. All his grief-stricken disciples started staying in great atmosphere of brotherhood. Everyone shared the work of begging for food, worshipping the master, teaching his message, and reading from the ancient Indian scriptures, the Gita and Upanishads. Narendra became a monk and headed the institution. He was now Swami Vivekananda. The Ramakrishna Math monastery thus came to life. Today, the institution is well known for its philanthropic, educational, and cultural activities all over the world. On July 1890, Vivekananda set out for a long journey, without knowing where the journey would take him. The journey that followed took him to the length and breadth of the Indian subcontinent. At the time, science was making great advances. The critics denounced the unscientific practices of religion. But Swami Vivekananda had a different view. People do not realize that there is science in religion as well. The scientific practices we follow today are just a new form of what the Vedas have taught us all these years, he would say. Swami Vivekananda met many scholars and exchanged ideas with them. He came in close contact with the people of different regions of India. He observed the imbalance in society and tyranny in the name of caste. There is a need for a national rejuvenation, he thought. Traveling day and night, he reached Kanyakumari, the southernmost tip of the Indian subcontinent on December 24, 1892. There, the monk swam across the sea and sat quiet on a lone rock. He meditated for 3 days, in which he contemplated about the past, present and future of India. In time, this rock became famous as the Vivekananda Rock. In 1970, a memorial was built there, dedicated to the great man. Soon after this, he reached Madras, present-day Chennai. He addressed a meeting. It was the first ever public meeting addressed by Swami Vivekananda. Over the years, his preaching spread far and wide. He became renowned as a religious leader one day. He was invited to the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago to represent his country, India. This is indeed a unique opportunity to bridge the gap between the East and West, he thought. And September 11, 1893 was the day of Swami Vivekananda's legendary address to the World Parliament of Religions at Chicago. Thousands of delegates belonging to different countries of the world had gathered at the conference. Vivekananda was the youngest of them all. Besides, he did not have, like the other delegates, a prepared speech. Before his speech, he prayed to his guru Sri Ramakrishna. And then the monk from India began his address. "Sisters and brothers of America," were his opening words. A thunderous applause followed. When it subsided, Swami Vivekananda continued. People born in different religions finally reach the same God, as rivers born in different places finally reach the sea. No religion is superior and none is inferior. This message went on to become the heart of the entire conference, since it laid stress on unity of mankind and harmony of religions. Newspapers carried his photographs and his speech. Quoting scientific truths from the Upanishads and the Vedas, Vivekananda silenced the critics who thought of religion as unscientific. He blended the culture and spiritualism of the East with the science and industry of the West. Later, he traveled to eastern United States and Europe and delivered several lectures. Each soul is divine. So do not look for God in books or scriptures or temples. You should worship God in each human face. All religions are nothing but different paths to reach the same goal. Do not denounce any religion or think yours to be superior. On returning to India, Swami Vivekananda was given a warm welcome. He delivered a series of lectures, which was later published as Lectures from Colombo to Almora. His words of wisdom uplifted the morale of the poor and the downtrodden. The number of his followers increased day by day. Along with recognizing our own divinity, we should also recognize it in others. Therefore we shall dedicate our lives to the service of man, he said to his followers. Swami Vivekananda now came to be known as the patron saint of India. His birthday was declared a national holiday. After some time, he once again toured the West. From January 1899 to December 1900, he kept traveling, delivering lectures, writing and teaching. He returned to India and continued to teach and travel. But it was short-lived. On July 4, 1902, this great man breathed his last at his monastery in Belur. He was only 39 years of age then. A spiritual genius of commanding intellect and power, Swami Vivekananda succeeded in influencing thousands of lives all over the world. He dedicated his life to the mankind and yearned for the progress of the poor and the helpless. His fearless courage, his positive exhortations to the youth, his broad outlook to social problems, and countless lectures and discourses on Vedanta philosophy will always keep him alive in the hearts and minds of millions of people all over the world. Even today, his words echo, "You rejoice that you belong to the race of the great sages." But until those who belong to the upper classes help to uplift the downtrodden, and until exploitation ends, India will only be a grave. May Mother India step forth anew from the humble dwelling of the peasant. May she in the hut of the fisherman. May she step forth from the cottages of the cobbler and the sweeper. May she become manifest in godowns and factories. May the song of New India echo and reverberate amidst mountains and in forests and valleys.